If you haven't listened to part one of this interview, unbelievable. Satana is an amazing hypnotherapist, practitioner, and we had quite the deep dive in part one. I love the emphasis on how seamless hypnotherapy can be, and it's such an amazing tool that we can all add to our lives. Satana also shares her personal journey, very vulnerable, very open. But the great thing is, if you are someone, a woman out there suffering with endometriosis, is a very powerful conversation to help put you on the path to healing. So here we are in part two because we have so much to unpack and talk about an amazing topic of hypnotherapy. So I'm going to let you start, Satana. We had talked about perhaps playing with doing a hypnotherapy, but what do you think about that?
Um, I would love the idea of doing a hypnosis, but if people are listening to this while driving, probably not a good idea. So maybe we can talk about like what people can expect in a hypnotherapy session, what it looks like, what the process of healing during
That's
hypnotherapy is like.
great because we did not talk about that. We opened up some powerful information on part one. So yeah, that would be great if we got down to the like what to expect, timing, things like that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, so first off, I think sometimes people think like, oh my gosh, am I just gonna like get on Zoom and I'm just gonna be in hypnosis? And I'm like, no, we're gonna talk first. Don't worry, we'll control the whole session.
You're
Um,
gonna zoom into their mind.
yeah, some people really like believe in it though. They're like, oh my God, like you'll just say hi and they're like, oh my God, I'm going into hypnosis. They're
Yeah.
like, and you're like, no, but
Yeah.
we'll start the session in maybe 15 minutes, but how are you? So the first half of hypnosis, a hypnotherapy session looks like usually, um, you know, having a conversation, asking the client what's going on, what are some of your goals, what are you struggling with, what's happening. For me, I have a lot of people that come to me for things like anxiety, grief, PTSD. Um,
Mm.
and so usually
Have
understand.
they tried other things? Do they yeah, do they come to you as like a last resort? What are you hearing the conversations like? Is that the mainstay that people come to you after trying so many other things?
Yeah, people usually come to me as a last resort for hypnotherapy. It's just like I've tried everything. I've tried the talk therapy, I've tried the meditation, I've tried, all of the things. I've done therapy for 20 years and I still feel sad or depressed. Or
Mm.
I've had back pain for 25 years. I've tried everything and I now can't get out of bed. I had a client who had back pain for 25 years, was bedridden at one point, and we did two hypnotherapy sessions, and 95% of her back pain went away. And
Wow, wow.
5%, the last 5% of her pain was really just finding the right physical therapist that could help her align better. Um, so
Wow, that's
very, very
powerful.
powerful, right? They say 6 sessions of hypnotherapy is equivalent to 600 sessions of talk therapy.
Huh?
Yes, in terms of long-term results. So it's very effective.
Wow.
Um,
6 sessions versus how many hours of talk therapy?
600 sessions of talk therapy.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Well, as we spoke on part one, just reiterating, um, and I also feel with talk therapy, I don't know what the numbers is. I'm going to probably piss a lot of people off by saying this, but I do think you hit a wall with a therapist because like I do life coaching and
Hmm.
I've gotten to a point with clients where it's like we've hit a wall. You now need talk therapy. I've taken you as far as I can take you. And I feel like in talk therapy world, instead of that therapist doing the right thing and saying, I've taken you as far as I can physically take you, maybe you could go to this therapist specializes in XYZ. I'm
Hmm.
like, someone going to the same therapist. I knew someone going to the same therapist for 30 years. I just
Wow.
find that unconscionable. But
Yeah, I mean, to each their own, right? I mean, what
yeah,
works for me, somebody needs to go to someone for 30 years, and I don't know, but at least for me, I think it's like, I think people kind of cycle in and out. Like, I might see a client for 9 sessions, and then I won't see them for a year or two, and then something happens, life happens,
you
and they're like, hey,
cycle
like, my
in.
friend just died of cancer. Can you help me? Like, I'm grieving, right? So.
As
Um,
I said, people may get upset, but I feel like the goal of any kind of therapy is to help people heal. And if not being healed and you're not moving the needle, I would think 20 years would be enough to kind of,
yeah, I also would question like, are you getting better? Like, is this helping? Because if it's
yeah,
helping and you feel like I'm actually really happy and this is something I want to sustain, it feels like when I go to therapy, I feel happier, then do it. But if you feel like I'm going to therapy and I'm still depressed, and it's like sometimes people kind of, like you said before, it becomes an identity. Like, it
yeah,
becomes like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm sad, and that they don't know who they are outside of that. If your
right.
therapist isn't helping you, you know, reach in and kind of understand, like, okay, this is who I am. These are the things that I like. Like, it's like there is more to you outside of anxiety or depression. Like, you're not your anxiety or your depression, right? That's one of
It
the things
doesn't
we say
define you.
in
Yeah,
hypnosis. Like, we don't say like your anxiety, your depression. We say the anxiety, the depression, or you're feeling depressed, not you are, you know,
I love it. Love
right? Like, so, yeah. But one of the what I was talking about before was when you're doing a hypnotherapy session, kind of what you can expect. Because I know people have like, they get a little bit scared or nervous before trying it, which is normal, right? Hollywood has kind of messed with the idea of what
it.
hypnosis
I can't
is.
help but think of Houdini or whoever it was. It's like,
Yes.
with the wand, with the crystal going back and forth.
I will say I have seen hypnotherapists that do that for kids because they think that's fun. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but I will, usually for a hypnotherapy session, what you can expect when you're doing the actual hypnosis part is you can expect, at least from my sessions, is the first part of the hypnosis is really just like helping you really feel relaxed in your body, feeling safe in your body, and then going from there. So for people who come in with anxiety, it might look like, letting go of subconscious blocks to feeling at peace, to feeling safe in your body, to loving and accepting yourself. And usually it looks like that, inner child healing, of course, you've probably heard of that,
Hmm.
inner child healing, right? They say that our subconscious mind is formed from 0 to 8 years old.
Yes.
So if 95% of our mind is subconscious, that's a lot of our subconscious mind being formed from 0 to 8. So really healing inner child wounds. And at least for me, when I do hypnosis, it's also like being able to make sure that your inner child feels safe, feels heard, telling them the things that maybe you didn't hear as a kid, or maybe the things you wanted to hear when you were a kid, like, I love you, I'm proud of you. I'm so lucky to be your parent. You're a great kid, you're smart, you're interesting, you're great to be around. Um,
So
and
can
just
I
really
back you
feeling,
up for a moment? So I
yes,
think so because you do a lot of remote sessions, which is great because you can
yes.
reach people, right? So they set up an appointment with you.
Hmm.
Do you recommend that they sit down, lay down? Do you give them a choice?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
usually for remote sessions, they can either sit or recline somewhere, as long as it's somewhere that has back support. Um, so
And
that's
why
what
is
I
that
recommend.
important?
Just because when you're doing a hypnosis, you don't want to be like falling forward or anything like
Oh,
that.
okay.
And
Gotcha.
so the reason is sometimes people get so relaxed that you just want to have something to support
Ah,
back
gotcha,
afterwards, or sometimes it
gotcha.
can be a lot to just like hold yourself up as you're doing the hypnosis. Um, Yeah, and I know a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, is it gonna work? Like, if it's remote, like, is it not gonna like, I don't know, is it better to do in person?" But honestly, when I did hypnotherapy, I did it all over WhatsApp phone call with my hypnotherapist, and it
Oh,
worked.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love technology. Come
Isn't that
on.
great?
Come on.
Yeah. Like, how cool. You get to do therapy from India in the US
That's
over WhatsApp
amazing. Because
phone
it's your
call.
voice, it's your energy. And thank you for pointing that out because we believe in energy. Energy transforms time, space, and reality, just like
Mm-hmm.
intention. So this is an energetic, and I feel like if we don't give credence to what we can hear and feel, we can sense energy. That's how we're designed. So of
Mm-hmm.
course, Zoom or phone would work.
Oh
You
yeah, and I actually started doing this during COVID, so there was no other option other than Zoom at that time.
know, wow, wow.
So, And if you think of when you're thinking about hypnotherapy, it's really a suggestion therapy, right? So it's just you being able to take in those suggestions. So whether a
I
person is
love
physically,
that
yeah.
suggestion because it goes back to healing is all about free will. And I
Hmm.
feel like some people don't heal because they're not allowing themselves to heal or they're not taking. I love the suggestion because it's like the theory is, you know, of God, of the universe, one thing we have is free will. Thy
Hmm.
will be done. And so one of the things is this is why you can't wish for someone and want something for someone else. They get free will to do it the way they want to do. So I just think that's beautiful that it's a suggestion and then I guess that automatically puts the person non-defensive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like if I asked someone to close their eyes and I said, I want you to think of a red balloon, and you were like, I want to think of a blue balloon. Okay,
Yeah.
think of a blue balloon. I can't force you to think of a red balloon if you didn't want to, right? Um, So yeah, it's all a suggestion therapy. And even with hypnotherapy, it's like I think sometimes people come into it thinking oh, this is magic. And it's like actually, but the magic is really just you. Like the magic is you, like you are your own therapist, you are your own healer. Um,
Absolutely.
if anyone
You're our
tells you
own best healer. Like you're
yeah,
just in support of it. You're creating the environment, the suggest and the opportunity for them. It's an invitation.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And if
I
someone
love
ever tells
that.
you oh, I'm your healer, I'm your therapist, I'm the one that did all of this, like run. Like,
Yes.
like
Especially, I'm a shaman. During the acupressure, I just say I'm an acupressure practitioner or Jinshin Jitsu practitioner. I I believe like why your work because you're a conduit. I'm not
Mhm.
doing anything, you know? So,
Sure.
or I'm facilitating the environment. And yes, I use my hands, but to your point, I never say that I'm a healer. I do
Yeah.
prac healing work, but I don't know if I'm a healer.
Yeah, it's like, spirit, the universe, God, something coming through you, a different medium that's coming through you
Yeah.
to help heal that person. It's not us. Because if it was, everyone would just be healed. Like,
That's right. But
yeah.
do you find that the people that are drawn to you, I'm sure you may have had someone resistant, but I feel like people that are drawn to this, like when I'm doing an acupressure session, like I remember when I did yours, and it gets invasive. I'm not rubbing, but I just get so blown away and so humbled that people are just so receptive. That they
Mhm.
allow me. So sometimes I'm like on someone's chest, I'm like, oh my God, I am on their chest. And they're it seems like such a gift and such an honor to
Mhm.
have people be so receptive to the medicine. So I feel like it draws people. Do you feel that way, or have you had people that were
Yeah, definitely.
um,
And I think that's without any therapy, right? Like you have to be open to it in order to receive it, right? So many people they go to therapy, but they're like, I don't want to be here. I don't,
they
I
talk
don't
the
have
talk just to get through the session?
Yeah, I don't
I
have any
get it.
problems, right? I mean, maybe denial is the first stage, right? But definitely you have to be open to it. But like you said, like even with resistant, I don't like using the word resistant clients. I know
Mhm.
people do use
Yeah,
it,
what's
but
a better word to fearful?
yeah, maybe just like fear or just
Mhm.
kind of fear of the unknown. But when a client is like feeling quote unquote resistant or just maybe has some fears or uncertainties, there's like so many ways of doing hypnosis to help clients who maybe might struggle to get into that state, that peaceful state, right? Because if you think about it, the subconscious mind always goes back to what's familiar. So for you, it's like if you're someone who's like, I grew up in a really maybe stressful, toxic environment, maybe an abusive household, right? The idea of peace, feeling deep peace, relaxation within your body, not just on a physical level, but on a subconscious level, is just like, huh? Like that's I haven't done this before, right? So there might be a subconscious fear into feeling safe. So there are different types of hypnosis that you can do if you're someone who feels like kind of like, oh, I don't know, like I'm feeling like super nervous or anxious before doing it to help people get into that state of hypnosis. Um,
That's why I like you have a dialogue beforehand. And you're tapping into what they need. You don't just
mhm.
do a blanket session with people. And I think that's what's beautiful about it. You allow for all the different nuances, and I think you can read energy. I think
Hmm.
sometimes you already know, but you still ask the question. You already know. But it's part of the work to ask anyway, right?
Sure, yeah. It's yeah,
You
that is
feel you're like intuitive
I would
and
say
your
I'm
intuitive
intuitive.
faculties increased.
Yeah, I would say like usually before a session, like 5 minutes before, I'll get like an idea or what they say is a download, and I'll be like, this is what we're doing for session today. And I'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I'm like, well, let's just see what my client says, because, go with the flow. And
Yeah.
usually like 99% of the time, that's what I end up doing is the thing that came in my head 5 minutes before. Um, but
Love
I feel that with you too. Like you're such an intuitive when you do your work. Like I was just crazy when I was doing acupressure with you. I remember like you were tapping on points and saying things like about releasing things that I hadn't even told you about. And I was like, how does she know that I have this
it.
problem? Like
That's great because I'm so grateful to, I don't know if you know Dr. Eric Pearl. I don't know if we talked about, he
mm,
did, his work was about the reconnection. We're supposed to have 12 strands that come from the universe. And
mm,
by the time we come through the birthing canal, we wind up missing three of these strands. So the
ooh,
reconnection is about reconnecting so that you have all 12 of the strands. But one of the things he said, he just was so great about saying, you're not doing anything. It's coming through you. And he was
mm.
so I feel lucky that I was raised that way. Like my first healing modality was during the reconnection, and then I went into acupressure, but he was very insistent about that.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
think that's so important too, because sometimes, like, in a lot of healing modalities, it's like, oh, do this XYZ framework. And then, like,
Yes.
this is what's going to heal the person. But sometimes it's just like, it's that person came to you for a reason. And there's something that you can offer them that maybe the 300 other hypnotherapists or whoever couldn't offer them. Like, that, there's some knowledge that you have that might help them in a way that other people might not be able to. And you just have to be surrendered to that.
I want to ask you a question. This may be a slightly off topic, but I had a past life regression reading. And something came through, but the lady she was a little annoyed because she said I never went under because I think because I'm such a heavy meditator, I was
Mm-hmm.
still more lucid than she had liked. She was able to see, but she was really kind of put off that I didn't go under or go out. Um, so
That's a red flag. That's a no.
I will say the three lives that she did see, but it was almost like she just was frustrated that I didn't, because she asked me some questions. I said I meditate a lot. I was lucid, but it's like in my meditation, I don't the days I disappear, those are not the norm. But it's a
Mhm.
very lucid state. You're kind of in theta, but you're still kind of aware of the circumstance. But she said she was able to get these lives. And I will say that the three lives that came forward were really instrumental, were really
Ooh,
just, full body chills. But it was funny. I was just like, is it because I meditate all the time? But she was perturbed.
interesting. That's yeah, definitely a red flag. If I don't know if she's a hypnotherapist or what, but
No, she was just past life regression, but yeah, she portended to
hmm,
put me in a trance. So,
yeah. Past life regression is usually hypnotherapy, unless they're the ones that, unless they tell you
okay.
like this is what I'm seeing in your past life, that's more like psychic
Oh,
intuitive.
gotcha, gotcha. So yeah, guess that was my first, and I was kind of put off. I was like, okay.
Usually in a past life regression, because that's a form of hypnotherapy. Past life regression, I mean, one, I personally don't do past life regression with someone unless I really think they need it. So I'm not taking you to your past life to see those traumas as well. If
Right,
you're not, like,
right.
let's deal with what's in the present right now. And then if it's, they say 80% of your issues are in the present life, and the other 20% are from a past life.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So
So
oftentimes
why
it's,
would you spend 80% of your time on 20% of
yeah.
things wow.
So if you're usually it's good to start with present life just to be like, hey, there's something here. But obviously, when I first did hypnosis, the first hypnosis I did, I actually went into a past life as well. Um,
Okay.
But with going in, like if someone makes you feel bad for not going in, I would say that's more of a failure on the other person's
Mhm.
part to not make you feel comfortable enough to go in.
Right, right, right.
So, and even with a past life regression, well, one, there's a million ways to put someone into a state of trance. So there are deepeners that she could have done to help you get into that state of trance. Um, but even with past life, I think if someone's kind of struggling to get into the past life, one, sometimes it's maybe the person isn't meant to see all of those things. So, right, the
Mm.
subconscious mind only brings up what you're ready to see.
Wow. Wow.
So,
I never thought of it that way, Satana. Wow.
mhm.
Wow.
So,
Maybe
some people,
instinctively, I was like, to your point, I don't want to see all this stuff.
yeah, maybe it
How's it
was
going
like,
to serve me today?
absolutely, because that can be a lot the first session, right? Also having a good amount of rapport with that person is really important, especially with the past life, because I think it's so intimate, right? It's not like
Yeah.
not only are we dealing with the problems in this life, but just let's just go like the last three lives. Let's
Yeah.
just right? Um, so one definitely getting into a state of trance, they shouldn't be shaming you for not going in deep enough. That's it's on them to help you go deeper. And in the case of, so I've had clients where it's like, we've done a lot of sessions or we've done 3 or 4 sessions and they feel like there's something in a past life. So I'll take them back. And for whatever reason, they're like, hey, like I feel like I'm not seeing anything, nothing's coming through for me. And during that time, usually you can say like, okay, tell me what you're feeling in this
Ah.
situation. Like what's coming up for you? And they might say I'm feeling intense feelings of grief or sadness. And then you can kind of go with that feeling and work with
Mm.
that. Um, you can also, if the person isn't necessarily going straight into a past life, meaning they're not quote unquote like seeing the scenes and seeing what's happening, you can also just say like, um, okay, so we've taken you back into this past life. You're not seeing anything. Is there any lesson, message, guidance, or insight that you needed to know from this past life that you can take from
Mm.
this past life into this life right now? And they might say, like, yes, there's a message here that I need to know, and it's about XYZ. I need to learn how to trust myself. Need to learn how to believe in myself. Or it could be anything, right? Something that comes
I
up,
love
or
that.
it can also be something that you can do is um like removing any past curses or like curses that have been placed on you from a past life. Um, if someone has put a curse on you, or if you've maybe taken an oath that is
Mm.
not helpful for you in this life now, asking the subconscious mind to remove that,
Ah,
um,
I
and
love
doing
that.
so the beauty of hypnosis is that when you are doing a hypnosis, and I know you've experienced this in our hypnosis, is like you don't necessarily have to know the specifics of what you're letting go of. You can just
Absolutely.
tell your subconscious mind to let go of that, and the same goes with the past life as well.
So is there a formula and is this just when you're done, you're done? Is there like, so like for example, in yoga practice,
Hmm.
the asana, the hatha, in
Hmm.
particular, the physical side of yoga, it is said that you need about 10 sessions before you can make a determination. About 10 sessions will get you over the hump and into the practice and into your body.
Interesting.
There a thing like that for hypnotherapy?
Yeah, I mean, with hypnotherapy, and this is actually kind of controversial that we're talking about this because I actually have different beliefs about this than other hypnotherapists. But usually in school, the way that we learn about it is it's like, okay, if you have anxiety, it's 1 to 3 sessions, grief, 1 to 3 sessions, pain
Oh,
management, 6 sessions, PTSD, 6 sessions, chronic pain, maybe six, maybe max nine. The way that I think about it though is I think that like standard should be 6 to 9 sessions because I think that there's actually, when I first started doing hypnotherapy, I did what my teachers told me. I was like, oh yeah, just do the 1 to 3 sessions and you're good. And I think that's helpful on some level because the intention is you're trying to get the client to be independent from you. That's what you want. You want them to heal themselves and to go off in the world and feel good. And what I realized after doing that, because I've been doing this for 5 years now, was that the clients that I saw even 5 years ago, I realized like, oh, this client came in for anxiety or grief or pain management. And in that 1 to 3 sessions, they actually did heal that issue. Like they got better. And now they're having other issues 5 years later. Maybe it's body image issues, something else that's completely different. Maybe it's an addiction or something different. And that actually could have been treated if, or that could have been helped before if there's something actually deeper here that we could have addressed like earlier in sessions so that this could have been prevented, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Um, and
wow.
so I don't know if that makes sense,
That
but
makes total sense. Yeah.
yeah, where I'm like,
Yeah, it's
okay,
like, is 1 to 3 sessions really a deep enough dive to get to the root causes, like you were saying?
yeah, because at least for me, it's like I did like 10 to 12 sessions, and I felt like because I had a very intense trauma, especially post a sexual assault, and 10 to 12 sessions was really helpful for me. And now that I think, like, looking at it now, it's like, I'm like, who doesn't have trauma? Like, who hasn't
Right.
experienced trauma?
Exactly.
So I feel like the way that Western psychotherapy or Western therapy kind of looks at it is like anxiety kind of happens in a bubble, or like the diagnosis happens in a bubble, like, oh, you're anxious, you're depressed, and this is something that's individual to you, but it's actually because we live in an anxiety-inducing world where there are things that like sometimes like shit just happens.
And we're
Right?
part of the collective consciousness. I mean, we saw this with the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
This is global trauma. There's a
Absolutely.
global pain body that came up during the pandemic.
Absolutely. And I think the really beautiful part of hypnosis is the difference, I think, what I would say for clients that do 1 to 3 sessions versus clients that do a full 9 sessions is that you might have heard of like quantum hypnosis. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
going into the quantum. It's
Going
like,
into the field. Yeah.
yeah, I
Is that
really
almost like futuring and like clearing it up before it can happen, before you take it there?
Yeah, it's like, at least for me, it's almost like it's like future self, being able to see your future self, feel like you already are your future self. But
Mm.
then a lot of it is just like there are so many like think about like whenever to any time you've like spiraled into a horrible like negative thought spiral and thought, what if this happens? What if this happens? Da, 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 da. And then think about if you could do the exact opposite and you could think like I said, like what if this happens? Or what if this happens? And what if this amazing thing happens? And what if
Right,
this
like there's always the opposite. That's what I say. We naturally pick the negative,
yeah, and it's
you
it's
know?
basically like to me it's like what if you could imagine like instead of like let's just say you have like 100 worries, 100 problems, and like 100 things that you could just sit and ruminate about and like get anxious about. And I'm not saying those aren't valid, but what if you could also imagine like 100 beautiful doors opening up for you and different opportunities? Like, what if it's like abundance, or abundance in love, abundance in happiness, abundance in joy, abundance in peace, like opening up these different channels in your life. And being able to really experience it and not just it being like a temporary, like, oh, that was just a one-time thing. It's just like actually being like, oh no, this is how I'm like moving forward in my life is just like thinking, just like having a new perspective and like just feeling overall more at peace and like kind of like, oh, I genuinely believe I'm on the precipice of something good happening in my life rather
Well,
than
well,
doom and
you
gloom.
may run in this in your field too, like in the supplementation world. People's like, oh, it's just a placebo. But I'm like, but placebos work.
Yes.
And it shows the power of our mind. If you believe it, it will happen. So we're manifesting all the time. So that's a big one. When people when they say, oh, I tried it, it didn't work. And I said, well, how long? There's certain protocol, like you
Yeah.
started taking this at 60. The supplement and the protocol has to pass through 60 years that you didn't do anything,
Yep.
so something
Yeah.
like that. But yeah.
And something that I've been finding is like, is also because I think a lot of the ways that hypnotherapists do hypnotherapy is like letting go, healing the subconscious mind, which is good. I think that is all very important. And also, it's just like, what if there's like room for joy and play? Like they say, like the opposite of trauma isn't necessarily relaxation. The opposite of trauma is actually joy.
Mm.
And so, like, being able to tap into that state, especially as adults, when life is just stressful, like they said, like the average child like laughs like hundreds of times a day, and the average adult laughs like three times a day or
Oh
something.
my gosh.
It's like really sad, and you're
Wow.
like,
Wow.
guys, why are we so sad? Or like, I don't. It makes sense. We have a. It's stressful being an adult, right? But
Yeah, it
um,
is. But we let go of the imagination. We just like you said, it's about imagination and we let that go. We don't and we're not taught this stuff either. We're not taught
yeah.
stuff.
Absolutely. And something, especially because I've been working with like a lot of, people of color. And when I'm working with more marginalized communities, so much of it is, it's not just our issue. It's like our ancestral lineage. Like there's something in our ancestral line that we're holding on to, whether it's, maybe it's their anxiety or their depression or, the pain that they experienced, the hardships they experienced, the money issues they experienced and really breaking those generational patterns. Um,
Mm.
so even being able to heal our ancestral line, but then like I do this thing called like ancestral joy hypnosis, where you imagine your ancestors happy, like and
Oh,
joyful,
wow.
or
I can see that being very potent because we think of our ancestors, oh, my poor ancestors, oh, my ancestors. Yeah, it's always like downer, right? Oh, my
yeah,
ancestors. Yeah.
it's
Love
always about
that.
the intergenerational trauma, but never about the intergenerational joy. Like, what about
Mm.
the
Oh my
joy that they
gosh.
had, the happiness that they had, like the way that the music that they loved, the clothes that they loved, the culture that they brought,
Because
they're
both existed.
absolutely.
In the deep pain and trauma that they went through, they had these blissful, joyful times. Satana, that's amazing. Wow. That
Thank
in
you.
itself is so life-changing. Wow.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
never occurred to me to think of it that way.
yeah, and just being able to see them happy. And when we see them happy and abundant, then it's just like, oh, I'm actually giving myself the permission to be happy and abundant because how many of us, especially for people from marginalized communities. I can speak to this being like as someone that's Tamil, it's like feeling kind of like survivor's guilt. Like I live in the US. I was the first person to be born in my family in the US.
Oh,
And so like having the opportunities that I have, getting an education and not being married off in the second grade, like that was the reality for my grandmother, or not my, sorry, not my grandmother, but they were married off in child marriage.
so
Um,
in the Tamil culture is, India knows there's a caste system that exists.
mhm.
Is Tamil, is that what does that look like?
So,
Just to see what your family, your people, your tribe went through.
so I would say the caste system. So this, I'm going to talk about these as two different topics. So there's
Okay.
Tamil and then there's the caste system. So
Gotcha.
being
Okay.
Tamil is meaning that you are South Indian from
Okay.
specifically from Tamil Nadu. And so as a Tamil person, I would say my experience being Tamil in the South Asian community is we're a minority within a minority. So I have
Mm.
dealt with hate from other non-Tamil South Asian communities for being Tamil.
Oh,
Um, and it's hate, discrimination, um, even within the US, like that has not left. I actually don't tell a lot of people that I'm Tamil because I don't like dealing with the shit that I get for being Tamil.
oh gosh. Wow.
Um, Similar to how Black people deal with the discrimination that they deal with from other non-Black minorities,
That's what
right?
I was feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so, but with the caste system is like there's the caste system and that there's like this hierarchy within Hinduism where and again, the government says it's abolished, but not really. But there's like Brahmin, which is like the highest caste, Kshatriya, um, Vaishyas, and then untouchables. I might be missing one caste in there. But within the caste system, there's like, so upper caste being Brahmins and then like untouchables,
But it's
which
like inescapable. You can't be an untouchable and want to be a bright. You're just not even allowed access, right?
technically you could, buy yourself out of it. Like if there's ways to buy yourself out of it, well, like
Oh.
with the government, and you could like sign off someone, you could bribe someone to sign off that you're like a higher caste, but people in your community will still know that you're that caste. But
Ah.
with that said, um, it's well, hold up. With untouchable, I was gonna say I don't like using the word untouchable
Yeah.
because they don't go by that, but um the I know people who are untouchable that prefer the word Dalit, so Dalit. Um, and so yeah, so that's the caste system. But within the caste system, um, there are people that say that people who have, well, actually, I don't know if I want to get into caste right now. It's really sticky.
I'm taking you down a rabbit hole, but I just
It's
was wondering the distinction because, within the Black community, there is some colorism that goes on too. And I
oh,
feel like in South Asian cultures too, like the lighter, the darker, we have built-in hierarchies as well against our own selves. And that's what's tough when within your own culture you're being discriminated against.
oh
You
yeah,
know?
even within I think South Asian culture, like people who are more dark-skinned are and have more Dravidian features are often associated with being lower caste. And
Yeah.
so even if you're not technically low caste, which again, the caste system shouldn't exist. I am anti-caste. I don't believe in the caste system, but it does exist and it is something that I think does affect us, even being outside of India. Um, and it is the caste system is gross. The more that I actually like, I when I read about it, talk about it, it's just like you can't look at it without being like, who was this sick to
Wow,
really,
wow, wow.
but I mean, yeah, I mean, and like you said, like within the Black community, how there's colorism, it's so true, even within Tamil community, within the South Asian community about colorism and the
So
way they treat
these
people
are
who are,
these are these culture these are these heritage traumas though.
yeah,
Depending on what side of the thing that you're on. It's like I remember growing up because we just come from a family where education and speaking, we're in the US, we speak the Queen's English was important, but I got a lot of hate for, oh, you sound like you want to be white. But
no,
I can go there. I can do the street talk. But
yeah,
we were taught, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You have to speak clear English. But so just that alone, I have a stronger personality that I could fend for myself. But something simple like that, because I'm not speaking Ebonics or the culture, cocal, how do you
colloquial. I know what you're
colloquial,
saying.
yeah,
Yes.
colloquial speak. Um, but I got that my whole life. Like you sound like you just want to be white, but I actually grew up in a white community. My from that 0 to 7, from 0 to 5 was in Indiana, but because my family came from the South and there was a lot of slavery in our family, like most Black families, they wanted to be different. So they went north for a reason. So if you're going to be north, why go north and then still be ignorant? That was kind of like our family theory. So
Mm,
my formative years, like you say, from 0 to 8, um, probably from 5 to 8, we were in 100% white community. I think we were like the second Black family on the block. So
wow.
I'm going to speak the language of the
Yeah,
community, which is English.
sure. Yeah. And it's just so strange how people within our own community hate on us. It's just like, you guys, are we supposed to be on the same team? What is
I
going
know, I know. But I feel like we're going off topic a little bit, but I think it's great that it's bringing up what trauma can look like. It
on?
does, there's so many tiers and layers to trauma and how it affects us differently. So it is a tie back because I feel sometimes people just don't truly understand what trauma is. And they
Yeah,
think it has to be a certain broad sweeping things, but it can just be a continuum.
absolutely. And even like you said, like I grew up in a predominantly white community from 5 to 8. Like even that can be like the amount of racial microaggressions that we deal with. And even in that age. It can be
Absolutely.
so subtle, but then we take it in and then we can internalize it, and it's just completely subconscious, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
grew up in a predominantly white community from the majority of my life, actually, from 0 to 18. I mean, I lived in Columbia, Missouri from 0 to 9, and then I moved to
Oh,
Arizona.
wow.
I moved to Arizona from 9 to 18. And so I mean, in Prescott, I was like one of like three other Indian kids, I think.
Wow.
And
Wow.
like,
You were very special.
yeah, like at my high school, at least, like there wasn't a lot of other Indian kids. And like, yeah,
And
I
you know
got bullied a lot.
where to put you.
Yeah, I mean, like, and again, like we had three Indian kids. I think we had one black kid in our school, and then he left. And like, literally, our school was so white that when the census came in 2010, so before I got to that high school, the census came to do the census and stuff, and they literally thought that we were lying about how white our school was. And so
Wow.
the literal census came to our school to check
Oh,
if the
wow.
results were actually right. And they were like, oh, this school is actually this white. It was
That's
just like,
funny. And you're only in your 20s, so that's scary. So that was recent.
yeah, that
You know,
was in like
I'm
2010,
older.
I think.
I'm way up there in age, but I'm just like listening to you like, oh my gosh. Wow.
But
Wow. So let
but
me
like with
let's get on back on track a bit. But this is what I love about talking to you. I mean, it's just so powerful. I hate to use that word, but powerful. How long does a session actually last? So
yes,
if someone were to schedule with you one-on-one,
my
and do
sessions
you
are
do groups? Two questions. Yeah.
yes. My sessions are 50 minutes a session. And
Okay.
then I do groups as well. So I do groups at Malone's Metaphysical in person. It's in Camarillo.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so
California, Camarillo, California.
yes,
Okay.
Camarillo,
And
California.
people join in remote to that, or that's an in-person only event?
That one is only in person, but I do online events every month as well. So if you're
Okay.
interested,
You want to talk about where people can find you? I mean, I kept you kind of long here, where they can find you. Tell us what you're up to and how we can support you and your work. Tell us what
yes,
you're up to.
yes, you can find me at mangojungle.com or at mangojungle on my Instagram and TikTok at mangojungle, at mangojungle underscore for both my TikTok and Instagram. And also YouTube as well at mangojungle underscore. And you can check out my YouTube recordings on YouTube as well. And I have
Well,
actually,
those are free. Are those free, those recordings, or is it a
yes.
membership?
No, it's free recordings. They have free hypnosis. So if you're just interested in trying, I have a
Oh,
few really fun ones. I have a ancient Egyptian pyramid hypnosis to take you to the ancient Egyptian pyramids.
how
Um,
fun. That's so
yeah.
generous of you. That's awesome.
And then I also have a Harry Potter hypnosis if you're a Harry Potter fan, where you like go to Hogwarts and you get to explore Hogwarts.
That's
Um,
so great.
so
Mango Jungle. Why the name Mango Jungle? I know I remember I think you told me, but I'd like the audience to hear because it's such a cool name, Mango. I mean, it's so you can't hear that and not know that there's some meaning to that.
yes, so my private practice is called Mango Jungle, and the reason it's called Mango Jungle is because I did a future self hypnosis and I saw myself running around in the jungle. And so I just saw myself running around in the jungle and just feeling at complete peace. And that is the name Mango Jungle. And I just feel like I'm just like a baby mango running around in the jungle. So, and the people
I
who come
love
to me,
that.
the people who come to me, I say are kind of like are people who are jungle people. So they're people who feel like outsiders, they feel like marginalized or maybe have been ostracized in some way, shape, or form. And so
And that
um
is kind of the reach of your work too. You're passionate about marginalized individuals and cultures, right? I think that's what you're really passionate about as well, right?
yeah, so my a lot of my work is really providing culturally sensitive hypnotherapy.
I
So
love
it's
that.
something I'm really passionate about because I think especially after doing therapy in the US, having a white therapist that just didn't really understand me or understand my culture, and I just felt like I was giving a history lesson instead of receiving a therapy
Oh
session a lot
gosh.
of
Oh
times.
wow. Oh, wow.
Um, so I do a lot of research before sessions so I can understand other people's culture, customs, backgrounds, history, so they don't have to explain so much. So that's what I'm really passionate about, helping, other. Oh,
Beautiful.
thank
Wow.
you. Yeah, helping other Black, Indigenous people of color, people that are LGBTQ plus, and really anyone that just feels marginalized or just ostracized and just doesn't feel like they belong.
How about this? What if you're of the classic Anglo culture? You don't feel like you fit.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I help Black
anybody
people too.
marginalized, right?
Yeah, I help lots of white people. I mean, I worked at Passages, so
Yeah.
helped a lot of cishet middle-aged white men with addiction. I've been there, and yeah, I mean, I genuinely just consider like everyone my jungle baby. Like, I you
Nice,
know, I
nice.
feel like with a lot of business and like kind of the wellness community, they're like, who's your ideal client? And I'm like, we think we know who our ideal client is, but we never know. Like, you
Yeah,
just end up connecting with someone and you're like, oh my God, I love you. But like, I would
yeah.
have never expected, like, I would have really connected with this person. But like, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna steal a riff from a podcaster I listen to, Lewis House. And he, at the end of his podcast, he always asks them, he always says, if tomorrow, Satana,
hmm
um, everything you ever put into the universe, your TikTok, your IG channel, your YouTube, all just went away. You've lived a beautiful life. You've lived for as long as you want. But when you go, your work goes with you. What are three takeaways that you'd like people to know about hypnotherapy? If everything you've ever written, spoke about just disappeared, what would be three things you want, three truths you want to say about hypnotherapy and maybe the work that you do? What would those be?
With hypnotherapy, if all of my work had disappeared, I would say something that I was taught was that almost every single issue comes down to loving and accepting yourself, regardless of what the issue is. So, love and accept yourself. Tell yourself that you love and accept yourself. Even if you don't mean it, your subconscious mind takes everything literally, literally.
Mm.
So, speak kindly to yourself. Um, if you don't have access to hypnotherapy, I mean, if my YouTube channel isn't there, if you don't have access to hypnotherapy,
It's a good question, right?
if you don't have access to hypnotherapy, before you go to bed, the 30 minutes before you go to bed and the 30 minutes when you wake up, you are in a state of hypnosis. And so you can actually hypnotize yourself then. So you can say really, kind, positive things to yourself, the things you want to manifest in your life, right? Sometimes I'll like wake up with an alarm and the alarm will say like, here's $1 million or like,
Good for
something
you.
you're trying to manifest. Um, and the last thing is they say that regardless of any healing modality that you do, whether it's hypnotherapy, acupressure, acupuncture, naturopathy, um, 50% of healing really comes down to believing in your own ability to heal.
Mm.
So really just like don't give up. They say like the miracle happens right before you feel like giving up. So um,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, so don't give up and just really believe in yourself and believe in your ability to heal because you can heal.
Beautiful. Anything else you want to add? What's your next upcoming event? What do you have? Is it at what's your next thing coming up? What's your
Yes.
next event?
My next event is on Sunday, April 27th at Malone's Metaphysical at 5 p.m. I will be doing a abundance hypnosis to manifest abundance in your life and to really feel like an abundant being, whether it's abundance in love, abundance in joy, abundance in happiness, abundance in wealth, money, everything. So that is my next event. And if you are interested, I do one-on-one sessions as well. So you can check out mangojungle.com
How
for
do they reach you? So we know you have TikTok, you have Instagram. They can message you, direct message you. What's your preferred?
yes,
Any way to reach out
you can
that you
message me
prefer?
on Instagram. You can DM me. You can
Okay.
on my website, you can schedule directly on my website. So you can
Okay,
schedule we
great.
have a 20-minute coffee chat for free that you can schedule, and then you can schedule directly on there for my sessions as well. And then I was gonna say for my YouTube, if you type in my full name, Sadhana Selvum Hypnotherapy, that will definitely come up with my hypnosis as well. If Mango Jungle doesn't come up, because I think there's also a beer company called Mango
Oh,
Jungle.
really?
So
Really?
yeah, so look up Sadhana Selvum Hypnosis if that doesn't come up, or just yeah,
Can you
go.
spell your name for us, please? Your first and
Yes,
last name, please.
Sathana and then Selvam as in mom.
Oh my God, this has been so great. I could go on and on and on and on. We have to do this again.
Yes, I
Definitely.
love.
I'd love to. Thank you for being my first guest. You were brilliant. It's timely, and it's just such a powerful and non-invasive tool. I love it because people hesitate to go to the doctor and they hesitate to believe. And again, like you said, you just put people at such ease and you're so respectful. And I think it again goes back to you're making a suggestion and inviting, and that's so important that we feel comfortable with something like this. So I think that's coming up is that hypnotherapy doesn't do any harm. Because I think
Yeah,
that's one of the woo-woo, the misconceptions, like, oh, you're gonna go in and screw my, mess with my mind and my brain.
no.
That's not even possible, right?
No, I mean, obviously, if you're like a hypnotherapist like me, you're giving only positive suggestions. So, you know,
Yes.
um, yeah. And also in hypnosis, you're always in control. So if at any point you're just like, I don't want to do this anymore, you can just get up and stop. You can get out of the hypnosis too. So not
Excellent.
like quote unquote stuck in it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for tuning in to these episodes with Satana Selvum. Very, very powerful. And please reach out to her. She's a trusted source, an amazing friend, she's so young and such an old soul. And so you will absolutely love your time with her. Take her up on the free coffee chat. That way you can ask more specific questions and get a feel for her and then dive in.
Yes. Thank you so much, Astrid, for having me. This is the
Okay.
first podcast I've done, and I wanted it to be with you. So
Oh, I feel so
I'm,
honored. I feel it was the timing was spot on because I had talked to another friend. I was like, I really got to do this. And thank you for helping me launch my official podcast because until this time I called it a podcast. It's really been a solo cast. But that was my vision to bring in, and it's got to be people that are doing the work. That's what I love about you. You
Mm.
walk the talk. So I'm very mindful about who I connect with. And you've just been such a gift. And I
Thank you.
appreciate you. I want to acknowledge you for all the work that you do, all the stuff, that good energy. You're always sending me good energy. You're just such a great soul. And I just want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing and to help change this crazy world and to lead people to true healing, lasting like your um your mission is that people get healed. You're not trying to have people come for 20 sessions and 50 sessions and 20 years. You earnestly want people to heal as quickly as possible. And I just honor you for that. And I thank you for that.
Thank you, Astrid,
Yeah.
and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I feel really blessed that I got to do this with you as my first podcast too, because I think I've had other people ask me to do a podcast before, and I just immediately felt uncomfortable, and I was like, no. But with you, I was like, oh, Astrid, yes, please. Like that is a yes for me. So
Oh, thank you. Okay. We'll speak soon. Take good care. And thank you, everybody. Until the next episode of Astrodology with Astrid, take care of yourself, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Namaste.
namaste. Thank you,
Thank
Astrid.
you.